And this is in Burlingame. And on Sunday mornings, I would give a sutra lecture. And I always prepared a story or two, because stories are like dessert. You know, if you're willing to sit through the sutra, you'll knowing there's dessert coming, you'll listen to the sutra. There's a story coming. So one day, I had a big project, and I didn't get my story together. I hadn't found it yet. And so here I am, got 20 minutes to go. It's the end of the sutra lecture, time for dessert, time for the story. And I didn't have a good story that connected. And so I took a risk. Now, my experience with Asian Buddhist audiences, particularly Chinese and Vietnamese, is if you ask for folks to give an opinion, if you ask for folks to raise their hand and say something on their own, the first response is, they don't do what Westerners do. Westerners, pick on me, I got an opinion, ask me, okay? Right? By and large, that's pretty much the case. So I'm used to that, and so you work with that. So at this, I had no story, and I thought, well, let's try it. So I said, now we've been talking about Pure Land practices today. Is there anybody here, anybody today, who maybe has a story, who maybe has an experience with what we say Wangsheng, going off to rebirth? 6 hands shot up in the air from people named Zhang and Li and Chen and Lin. Call on me, I have a story. Well, sure, Lin 先生, 你先说嘛. Mr. Lin says, couldn't believe it. Now, who is Mr. Lin? He's a Silicon Valley high-tech engineer. He's a whiz kid, right? He graduated from Caltech and is earning, 6 or 7 figure salary working at Sun Microsystems. So he says, yeah. Oh, he couldn't believe it. We live in a condo down in Santa Clara, and Mrs. Lee was our next door neighbor. She was old. Everybody liked her. We would see her when we took the garbage out, kind of, where we'd smell her when she was cooking, and she's a vegetarian. We all knew that. And we could sometimes we would hear at night, she was hitting her wooden fish and reciting Namo A弥陀佛. We all knew that. She was a nice lady. We liked her a lot, but we didn't, I was busy and my wife was busy. But we didn't hear from her for about 3 days, and we noticed that nobody had taken the garbage out. So we were worried, we were concerned, and so we kind of, knocked on the door and didn't hear, so the door was open, we pushed our way in, and we went in and found her on the bed, sitting upright, wearing her Buddhist robes, with her wooden fish in her hand, a smile on her face, stone cold dead. And there was this fragrance in the room. She had this gentle smile, sitting there with her wooden fish. She had died, happily. We couldn't believe it, because we'd heard about this Pure Land. We'd been coming here for a couple years, but I'd never seen it. Amazing. And everybody in the room goes, oh. Right? Okay, so now Mr. Wang over here is Miss Wang. Miss Wang says, yes. Miss Wang also is a coder, and she writes code for HP, for Hewlett-Packard, and she says, oh, unbelievable. She says, incredible. She says, me too. We live in Cupertino, and she said it was our grandma. She came over from Taiwan, and we put her in the back room, and she's so happy because she's got her Amitabha. And we're kind of Buddhist, we're kind of Buddhist, Christmas and Easter Buddhists, we go Buddha's birthday, and but we didn't really think much about it until one day Grandma said, I want you all to come, call all the kids, get them all here. I'm saying goodbye. What? Grandma, aren't you happy here? Besides, you haven't bought a ticket. You don't even have a passport anymore, No. She said, bring them all here. So all the kids gathered in, all the aunts and the uncles and all the kids. And here she was, sitting on her bed, 92 years old, radiant smile on her face, wearing her Buddhist robes and saying, you all be good. I want you to all do good, avoid all evil, purify your minds. I want you to recite the name of the Buddha Amitabha and try your best. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. Now help me out. Can you say Amitofo? Amitofo? She closed her eyes and with a smile on her face, died. We were blown away, he said. And everybody in the room hearing the story went, yeah. How do you say it? What do you say? Tell me, right? So here are two stories from very with it people who live in the fast lane who were not necessarily believers or Buddhists, but having personally encountered people who had a special quality regarding faith, vows, and practice in the Buddha Amitabha at the end of life had something to say. Dylan Thomas, right? Rage, rage against the dying of the light. No raging against the dying of the light. The light is dying, the light is growing, because they're bringing the light in their mind. They're bringing the name Amitabha, the limitless light, the Buddha of limitless light and limitless lifespan, Amitayus, into their hearts. No darkness to rage against, no rage. Joy, expectation, anticipation. Startled me, I must say. And I thought, gee, I should come unprepared more often. These are great stories. That was a wonderful lecture. So the other thing about the Pure Land that appealed is the egalitarian nature of the Buddha's teaching on Amitabha. There's a teaching called Sangan Pube. The three different natures are all equally gathered in, which is to say salvation via Amitabha's vows was guaranteed to people of superior faculties, people who were both intelligent and blessed, people of middling faculties, like most of us, who have, some faith and some doubt, and also people of what are called challenged faculties, 下根的人, people who are of rude belief. All they need do, according to the teaching, is recite the name of the Buddha, Namo Amitabha, a minimum of 10 times. And at the end of life, they too can be reborn from a pure lotus flower in the land of utmost happiness, Sukhavati. Okay, so that's the story. And certainly, if you're encountering it for the first time, you'll have questions. How come other scriptures don't talk about this? Good question. But I will say that if you go from experience, and so much of the Dharma arises from experience, not from theory, if you go from experience, these are compelling stories. When I saw them with my own eyes, the people who were scientifically skillful and who saw grandma go off to rebirth in front of them, there was a sense of there's more to learn, isn't there? We don't know it all yet, do we? There's more to learn. What a compelling story. So what's the difference between faith and no faith? It functions differently. There's a different function between faith and no faith. Some of you may or may not know, in Silicon Valley, there's a phenomenon, what are called high-tech robberies. And it's not that robbers use high-tech, it's that robbers steal high-tech chips and components and things and resell them. One of our lay members, one of Master Xuanhua's disciples, a man named William Zheng, who is no longer with us, unfortunately. William Zheng owned a company called Wintech, and William was an amazingly devout disciple. Through him, many of his employees met the Buddha Dharma and became wholesome people. And there was a tragedy associated with Wintech that happened about, I guess it was about 8 or 9 years ago, which is on a Saturday afternoon, William, his vice president, and his secretary were working late on a Saturday. And as they were heading out the door, in through the front gate came 2 SUVs with guns blazing. They were high-tech bandits coming to hit Wintech and steal the shipment of wafers. Chips are made of wafers. Wafers are silicon with the circuits already cut in. Then you cut them fine and put them into 46s or Pentiums or whatever, what have you. And Wintec had just gotten a shipment of chips, very valuable.